What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome to the Tapped In Indy Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Heath Mulca, joined by Nick Daniel. Nick, we were trying to decide if it was colder where you are or colder where I am this morning.
It's cold everywhere in our region, I think, is the issue. And look, I know we catch a lot of flack from, people up north about how, hey, we don't, it doesn't happen often. Like,
Right,
it's,
right.
it's like people, have you ever heard anybody, because like I have an uncle who lives in, like the Connecticut, Massachusetts, up in that area.
Right.
And when it's hot, it's like, oh my goodness, it's so hot. You're like, come on, dude. It's just the same thing. But like, like right now it's like 26 degrees at my house.
Yeah, it's very cold here at the family bunker, and like as I was preparing to go home today, it was supposed to start snowing at lunchtime, and I was thinking, what do we? But now the snow has been pushed back until evening time, so I should be good to go. Fans, if you are concerned about the weather, you need to get the Weather Channel app. If you're concerned about Georgia Indie Wrestling, you need to become a patron at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. It's where you get all the episodes early, all the special episodes we're doing now. You get the hot takes from when we go to a show and we record something. You're gonna get a lot of value, but you can sign up for free. And that's where we put, the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight. That's where we put that everywhere. But this week on the Tapped In Indie show, several things to talk about. Primarily, it's award season. Before we get into that, though, you did have one note. I did want to talk about this. You were at a show the other night. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, we have both been at shows that perhaps
Listen, I went to so many shows this weekend, so they're probably not going to know which one it was. So there's that. I was at literally, like, in a matter of I was at 4 shows since Friday. So
incredible. Let's just say we've been at shows that were not paced very well, and in the middle of kind of like the slog, an intermission pops up. Hey, we're going to have a 10-minute intermission that turns into a 25-minute intermission. The question is it time for intermissions to go? Is it time for us to do away with them?
It is. So there's not a doubt in my mind. And it's something because, me and you were messaging back and forth about it. And the crazy thing is, over the last 4 days, I've had this conversation with multiple people at shows. And it was funny that even wrestlers were like, yeah. Like, it's not even like okay, if your argument is for merch, the wrestlers are saying we don't care.
Yeah.
If it's concessions, how many shows do we go to that you can't see the ring from the concession stand?
It's very few. Very few.
I honestly
I'd say 95% or higher.
I was trying to think of the shows that we regularly attend. The only one, and by the way, this is just a selling point to this whole situation. When you go to whether it's Turnbuckle or Disruptor or whatever at Tannery Row, it is kind of around the side. You can't really see if you walk up to the concession stands. Well, if you have the VIP and there's a full menu, there's a server coming to take care of you, so
right.
That's not even an issue. So it's part of the allure of the VIP ticket. But yeah, I can't think hardly of any, and I know somebody's gonna tappedoutpod@gmail.com, whether you're a fan, wrestler, or whatever, the disagreement piece, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, send that. I can't think of one off the top of my head that we regularly attend where like it's just completely out of the way and you can't see the ring.
Viral Pro Wrestling. Well, no, that was at their old location. I don't know about the Warren Road Community Center. The American Legion there in Augusta, you can see the ring from the only reason you can't see the ring is there's so many people in there sometimes.
And it's their merch section set up. The only thing that jumped off the page to me was at Southern Honor, the merch section is literally on the other side of the wall. So that I
Right.
understood. I completely
Right.
understood that part. But what was our answer to that?
You do it before or after. Most of the
Yeah.
guys aren't coming out during the show anyway.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, the
But the
biggest
but
thing
the
to me, here's what happens that even is worse. If you're a baby face and you're the match before the intermission, as soon as your match is over, you're scurrying to the back, hustling around to get out there to get your merch. Well, what happens if you got beat down?
yeah,
The segment going into intermission. Well, I can't go out there and sell my merch today during
right.
intermission. So what was the point? Like, what are we even doing here? By the
That's
way,
why
yeah,
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 yeah. If I'm a wrestler with merch, I am at my table when the doors open. I have worked out my match and I'm selling merch until the national anthem, and then as soon as the bell rings for the final match, I'm going back out to my table. I'm trying to catch a few fans who are leaving. I do know OSCW down in I want to say Somerville, but that's not the right town. In South Carolina, the gym that they're in, the concessions are in the lobby area, so you do actually exit the gym. The door shuts. But other than that, I can't think of a lot. I can't think of a lot. I just think a couple of things. You can either one remove the intermission and shorten your show, or it gives you time if you want to add another segment or another match. But I just think there's no intermission at the movies. Church certainly doesn't have an
Well,
intermission.
what you just said, like you can shorten the show
Yeah,
by that 20, 25, whatever your break is, and that's when they can come out and do the meet. Like they can buy the merch and whatever. It's like, hey, we're giving you the time. We're not running you out of here immediately.
right.
Go out there, sell your merch, whatever. That's fine. And it's like, oh well, beforehand we have to be getting our matches ready. Can you not get there and get it done early? I mean, how long does it take?
Or call it call it in the ring.
I
I
mean,
don't.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, there's certainly ways. I believe 100% of wrestling fans, we may not agree on who we like and who we don't like or what we like on TV. We can all agree a show being 30 minutes shorter would be a positive.
It even 20, 2025. I'm like,
Right.
it's just the biggest pet peeve I have. Maybe this is my problem. Maybe actually the biggest pet peeve with an intermission is, hey, we're going to take a 10-minute intermission, and then it's 25 minutes later, and I'm sitting in my
Right.
chair like, what are we doing? Like, what? I mean, especially when there's no line at the concession stand, there's nobody at the merch tables. I'm like, if you were willing to stretch intermission because it was busy, I understand, kinda. Um,
Right.
but yeah, just don't even do one and just say, hey, go get up and that's the popcorn match for a reason, right?
Do you think like when we do musicals at our school, I typically do a giveaway at the end of intermission. And as soon as intermission starts, the director will text me, this is the time. And so I don't have to ask her, hey, what time am I doing this? I know to grab a microphone, and as soon as it's 8:42 or 8:41, I start my thing. Like there's no questions asked. This is when you're doing it. It doesn't matter if there's still people in the bathroom. We're doing a 15 minute intermission, and this is 15 minutes. And so I think part of the problem with wrestling is who's actually, I've been a ring announcer and I'm always looking, hey, are we good to start? And there were so many times, oh no, just wait a few more minutes, wait a few more minutes. So there was a lot of a lack of communication or miscommunication. Someone's got to take charge. Someone's got to be the executive producer of the show
Mm-hmm.
to make sure all that's running. And if that's the promoter or the booker, they're already doing 100 things. So you gotta anyway. There's a lot going on. No more intermissions is what we're trying to say.
I'm right there with you. I mean, look, I get it, and every I'm sure every show that I go to for the next couple of weeks, they're going to explain to me why the intermissions matter and why they're important, and I get it. But if here's the thing, I'm telling you from sitting in the crowd, the fans are like, "What do we do? Like, let's go. Let's get." I mean, just put it at the. If they want something bad enough, they're going to go up there and get food. If they're
Right.
hungry or thirsty, they'll go get it.
I I know you and I've seen a lot of fans. It could probably, we can probably wait. It ain't gonna hurt us to wait a little bit to get some food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Uh, well, today is a very special episode. It's one of my favorite episodes of the year, and it really is how this whole venture started. Is a year ago, you and I did an episode talking about the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, and then it spawned a whole podcast. But before we give our picks for the Georgia Awards, we want to give a shout out to all the winners of the Carolinas Professional Wrestling Awards. I just want to take a moment. Robert Truesdale, aka Redbeard, runs that group, runs these awards all by himself, picks the panel. He has announced 2025 is the last year he's going to do this. He's been doing it a really long time. He's got a teenage son now. And so I just want to thank him for all that he has done to bring attention to the Carolinas. People give him a lot of grief for how he does what he does, but I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting to see who steps up to take his place.
It doesn't matter which awards it is. It's a thankless job because you're never going to make everybody happy. Everybody's going to look. I mean, look, we're the first ones to say there are times where like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do it that way, or I wouldn't, and everybody's like, I get it. It's like, it's just, I don't, anytime you're coming up with a system to pick anything, especially in today's society, there's somebody's going to be slighted. Somebody's not going to be happy with the outcome, even if it's not them. Their favorite they should have won, and I love that they should have won. And I'm like, based on what? I mean,
right.
It's so opinionated, but it's tough. I mean, and so like I said, I'm with you. I mean, you can't help but appreciate somebody that at least goes through the effort to try to make stuff like this happen. And I mean, look, this is Carolinas, and we're going to get into the Georgia part of it in a little bit, but. Yeah, man. Hey, kudos, and look, if he wants to, look, there's many a times I've said like, is there better stuff I could be doing with my time? So I completely understand.
Yes. Let's start with ring announcer of the year, a guy who they need to call it the Brett Wolverton Ring Announcer of the Year award. Brett Wolverton, your winner once again. He's in double the digits for the number of times he has won that award, and well deserved. Brett I consider him the voice of the Carolinas, and is a mainstay at so many different promotions. Referee of the year, James Hunter, a guy out of North Carolina. I don't think he refs a lot in South Carolina, but somebody I know he's been in the running for this award before and probably has won it before. Manager of the year, Stephen Fry, a guy who's at Revolution Wrestling Authority, I think is the name of the promotion. Well respected manager, again, multiple time winner of this award. Any criticism I would have of Mr. Fry has nothing to do with his work. His work speaks for itself as far as being manager of the year. I just love to see him more play. I'd love for him to be somewhere where I can go see him. Where he works is a little bit out of my driving range, but again, well deserved. Rising star of the year, a guy whose name I really started hearing the second half of the year, Dante Khalifa, a young man wrestling in a lot of different places. The Rising Star of the Year award is for the first. You got to be 3 years in to get that award. But that's a young man. I've heard his name in Georgia a couple of times, maybe. Or am I crazy?
No, I think you're right. I mean, he's starting to pop in, which is kind of cool. I wish more and more guys were, because my argument as always is, isn't it easier to? I mean, it's easier to come from the Carolinas to Georgia because of the non-licensing issues and stuff versus the other way around.
Right. This next guy. So for Georgia fans who don't know some stuff about the Carolinas Award, so several years ago there was some question of, okay, rising star of the year, what is that? Well, that's somebody in their first 3 years. Well, what if you've wrestled more than 3 years, but you're not quite at that wrestler of the year? So they created the Fire of the Carolinas award, and then there was one year it was either Billy Brash or Joshua Cutshaw won Wrestler of the Year and Fire of the Carolinas. So Redbeard's like, hey, if you're a finalist for Wrestler of the Year, you're not going to be a finalist for Fire of the Carolinas. I think that's what he did. And here's a guy who is very familiar in Georgia, and that is Bojack. Well deserved of this Fire of the Carolinas award. Works North Carolina, South Carolina. Is a young man with a ton of potential. Um, and he continues to build his resume. And he's also one I'd love to see more in Georgia.
Yeah, just a big dude for sure. And I think because I'm trying to think where all we've seen him. It's mostly like viral. It's
He's been
the
viral, yeah.
yeah, the Carolinas guys. It seems for some reason, which is kind of crazy, that it's always down in the Augusta, Savannah. Like that's kind of where they invade the Georgia side more than even, which just makes no sense to me. I'm like, can't you just shoot down like 85 and you're like, hitting some like Royston, Royston's not a
Yeah,
far drive from the Carolinas.
right. 100%. The feud of the year comes to us from AML Wrestling, and that was Brad Attitude versus Nick Nemeth. Brad Attitude, the AML heavyweight champion, and got tangled up with Nick Nemeth. I think this was I think this was just one show, so I'm always going to say if it's going to be a feud, it needs to be kind of like a multi-show deal. But AML, one of the most consistent promotions in the Carolinas, and they've had feud of the year several years here the past 5, and Brad Attitude is a guy that doesn't work a lot of places, but he is one of the centerpieces there of AML wrestling, and that's a big deal.
Hey, and didn't if my eyes did not deceive me, didn't Tracy and Brian, those guys up at AML, didn't just sell it like they're coming up on like an anniversary or something? Because I saw a post about people are always confused that like they think AML was first before WrestleCade, and it's actually the reverse. The WrestleCade got the itch to start AML, and now
Right.
they're coming around on their anniversary loop.
Yeah, so this is year 10 for AML. And I remember when they were starting it, and they have come such a long way, and really have become kind of one of the premier promotions, if not the premier promotion in
I,
the Carolinas.
I would argue they're and the only reason I say that is because I mean I'm so distance from the Carolina, especially like North Carolina, or whatever. Like they're the name that I always hear. It used to be PWX, but now it's like AML's kind of seems like look. And so again, send Nick the hate mail at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That I from basically everything I see and watch and shows I've gone to because they do stuff at WrestleCade and stuff. So they always seem like they are the benchmark there in the Carolinas to me.
Yeah, I think also very few people you're going to hear a bad word about Tracy Myers, and they run a very professional show, and that's a big deal. Very very fan friendly. And it is, it may not be America's most liked wrestling, but it's the Carolinas' most liked wrestling, perhaps. Tag team of the year, the Allen brothers. I believe this is their second year in a row winning this award, and I think they've been in Georgia here a couple times, maybe at Wrestle America. Um, but again, starting to see more and more of those people. Female wrestler of the year, Caitlin Marie. I don't think she's been in Georgia any this year, but works North Carolina and South Carolina. This was an award that Savannah Evans had a death grip on. But really, as Savannah has worked more with TNA, really only worked a handful of matches in the Carolinas this year. And then finally, someone who does, I mean, he is your Viral Pro wrestling heavyweight champion now. The rest of the year in the Carolinas, Drew Hood, a guy who really continues in the Carolinas to work his way up the ladder. What I mean is, held a lot of titles at some smaller promotions. but really starting to get recognized and get booked more and more places.
It's because again, the Carolinas a little more than I has even like because Viral's a player in Georgia.
Yes.
Like has that helped his stock in the Carolinas being like that's what I always try to understand with promotions.
I don't think I don't know that people in the Carolinas pay a lot of attention to Georgia. Um, there is definitely within promoters, there's I don't even know the right word. Not heat. That's not it. I think everybody kind of looks down their nose at each other. I think so. I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think I here's what I hope. I hope Viral the last 2 years they had lost a show to a hurricane. They've had to switch venues. They just keep getting hit and can't build that momentum. And I'm hoping with somebody like Drew Hood who has proven he's consistent. He does the work, and hopefully he's somebody that can help Viral get back to that top level where they were several years ago.
And I know this is a Carolina, but that conversation is somebody like because he's a breath of fresh air there. I know they're bringing in a lot of fresh new faces as well. So I'm with you. But like I said, I was just curious if there was any effect from one to the other.
Yeah, I think here's the effect is the connections because you mentioned why are a lot of those Carolina guys working Viral in Augusta? Well, close to the border, but then it's relationships. It's relationships between the people in Augusta, people in Columbia, Palmetto Championship Wrestling. There was a lot of connections there with Viral back in the day. You've seen like James Johnson, he's been a Palmetto Wrestling guy for years, get some shots at Viral. So I think that's the main thing is who are the relationships and like who's gonna put your name in the hat at a promotion in a different place. And I think like I said, you know, you can think whatever you want to think about the awards. I think they're fun. And I think all these folks that won Carolina Awards, you could make an argument for other folks, but all these people are deserving winners, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But let's head to the ones that everybody that listens to this show really care about. And it's our picks for the Georgia Wrestling History Awards. Now, Nick, I did not send in a ballot this year. I have not done that I've never done that. And I didn't do it again this year. Really thought about it, but just decided not to.
I'll plead the fifth. Nor did I. But it's like
right,
no, nothing wrong. It just
no, nothing wrong. Because again, to me, this is just me. Okay, I understand the intent of those awards are to be voted on by people in the wrestling business, and I'm not that. I don't consider myself that, and so I did not want to. I know there was some controversy a couple of years ago, maybe allegedly that the hot dog sales people were trying to get ballots, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want anybody arguing about whether or not I should have voted or not, so I'm just not going to. Nothing against the awards, but I basically just want to kind of to respect. Okay, this is for the people in the business, and I didn't vote. All right, let's start with
feud of the one caveat. Sorry. There is one caveat we want to throw in here, and I think this is super important on a couple categories because I know a lot of people know some of my thoughts and opinions. When we say we're picking, we set a rule that we had to pick somebody that was on the ballot.
Yeah.
And it's the process, and so be it. There are awards finalists that I would have had somebody else, not only as a finalist, but as the winner that's not on that list. So there may be an award that we say, hey, my pick is this. That's not who I would have picked to be that. That is who I'm picking off of the list that we are provided. I want to make that clear because I think that's again, Not a knock on anything. It's not a knock on the process, anything. It's just like, hey, this is the process. If you were voting, and here's the, but we didn't vote, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So we're saying like, hey, had we voted, this is who we would have voted for. Of course, the
Right.
crazy thing is, it's like, hey, watch somebody we picked lose by 2 votes, and had we voted, they would have won. But anyway,
Yes. Yes. Um, let's talk about feud of the year. The nominees: Matt Griffin versus Georgia Wrestling, Exotic Youth versus Gary Lamb from Southern Honor, Michael Walker versus Hakeem Young from Coastal Empire, and the Ministry versus Exotic Youth from Coastal Empire. Let me say first of all does like any one of those can win, but Nick, which one gets your nod?
this was probably the hardest one. This is probably one of the hardest categories when we're looking through them. I highlighted a pick, and I'm still struggling. How crazy is that? Um, I, at the end of the day, I think I was going to go with Matt Griffin versus Georgia Wrestling in general,
Yeah.
which is kind of ironic because last year it was Skrilla versus Georgia Wrestling. That it's something that big of a scale, whatever. But again, this is, yeah, this is the. Trying to think. This might be the only category that. Never mind. No, that's not true. I'm looking at the rest of them. I'll stop. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going Matt Griffin, Georgia Wrestling. Probably is my, if I were just picking one off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yes. That's also who I would have voted for. Matt Griffin was everywhere for different reasons and basically became a player in multiple promotions. It was very fun to watch. And then at the end of the year, you see him in the midst of his war against all of Georgia wrestling. He loses the grip on his very own promotion. And so this is a story that's going to continue. It's a possibility that could win back to back years
Yeah.
because that's going to be ongoing. So yes, Matt Griffin versus Georgia Wrestling was my pick. Best match of the year: Najicism versus Sean Legacy from Classic City Wrestling. Billy Buck versus Hunter James in the ladder match from Southern Fried. Cal Matthews versus QT Marshall from the Southern Honor versus Turnbuckle show. Michael Walker versus Hakeem Young from Coastal Empire. And Chip Day versus TJP from Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Before we get into these, what a great 5 totally different matches, um, 5 different promotions. Nick, what are your thoughts on the match of the year?
So I will say, it's as awesome. That here's why I love this. I either saw every match in person or on IWTV or on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because remember, we made that joke about like, if I can't see your match later, how can you be best match, right? Like that,
Right.
if it had to be there. And so we've seen them all, and I think, does this look like the epitome of like subjectivity of like what's your favorite style of match?
Mm.
Look, it's obvious. The night I saw this match, I said Kyle Matthews versus QT Marshall's match of the. I think I texted you because you weren't there, and I said I think I just saw the match of the year.
Yeah.
And it's for a ton of inside baseball reasons
Mm-hmm.
that it's probably my match of the year. So it's just because of the subjective nature of it. If you're looking for like something different, I could sit there. This is one of those categories I could probably argue all 5 of these matches and tell you why I think they should win.
Yeah.
But my pick's QT and Kyle.
Again, I don't know that you could go wrong here. My pick is going to be Michael Walker versus Hakeem Young from Coastal Empire Wrestling, and here's why. It of all these matches, this match was the blow off match for a year long feud. Um, these guys had been feuding all year, and it culminated in this. And I really thought that, and maybe it was in the nominees, the promo that they did leading
Yes.
up to that match in that show was very very good. And so for me, Now, on the flip side of that, if I'm not mistaken, the Billy Buck Hunter James really kind of spearheaded the whole crusade thing in Southern Fried. But for me, I'm voting Michael Walker. Now, in the grand scheme of things, has this one of the greatest matches that ever took place in Georgia? No. But for me, for the reasons I'm voting, the fact it was a great way to end a really great feud. That's kind of who I'm going with.
Yeah.
Uh, Next, Best Manager Award. Our nominees: Matt Griffin, Donald Jakes, Tristan Michaels, and Rick Page. Who do you have for your Manager of the Year?
So, in the grand scheme of things, I know who I my gut reaction's not probably the right pick.
Mm-hmm.
My gut reaction is Matt Griffin as he represented, because somebody asked me, well, he didn't manage anybody. I'm like, yeah, he did. He managed, he picked up Gunner late, obviously in the
Mm-hmm.
year, but he essentially managed Action Wrestling and slash IWTV slash his brand of wrestling that he sees as, because in the beginning of the year it was Adam Priest, and then it was like,
Right.
so he's always had people. And I think that was his staple. And then, like you said, because of the feud of the year, that's why I tied those two things together. Is because his feud with Georgia wrestling, managing what he thinks wrestling should be. That's the way I looked at it. That's who I would take. But that's again for obviously because my problem is and this is something we're going to find out later on. To me, like awards tie together. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to like, oh, they don't they because of one, it almost causes the other. And that's
Right.
where these feud and manager kind of come hand in hand.
Right. Right. I cannot dispute that pick at all. For me, my pick is Donald Jakes. Just was at a lot of different places than Matt Griffin. One and I would say the number one reason I'd vote for Donald Jakes is when I think about some of the big babyface payoffs, whether it's Coastal Empire or Premier or AWE, he's right there in the middle of all that.
Mm.
Of he and I know that I don't think I'm giving anything away. He may be he away from some of these promotions because he did what a heel manager is supposed to do. He got what was coming to him.
Okay.
And so to tell that story throughout the year, to manage champions, to be a part of not just championship angles, but angles that really the whole promotion was built on for the whole year. I think he did a great job. Very entertaining. You know, I you know, I'm I'm a legitimate ordained minister and I appreciate the shtick.
Yeah. Look, the commitment and the diligence that he puts into it. Kudos. That's what somebody told me. Like, hey, you're going back and forth. All four guys super qualified. By the way, I think all four of these guys will have one of these under their belt at some point soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the way I just think that's how highly I think of all four of the guys that are in here. But the commitment to him, to that character, it's up there, man. I think he gets when it. I think for look, and I even tell people, and this is no insult to anybody. From what I thought of that first day that I saw that to what I think of that character now, I mean, it's leaps and bounds better, and
Yes.
it's all him and the work that he's put in. So I get it. I just had that other thing tied to that feud of the year, so
I
that's kind of why.
totally
Yeah.
yeah, totally get that. I think Rick Page has been around a couple of years, but this year, 2024, SCA, SWA. Oh, there was one more.
OSWA. I mean, yeah,
OS.
he's
Here's what I would love to see, and maybe it's Tower, maybe it's somebody else. But here's the thing: as a manager, if you are wanting to move up, you've got to attach yourself to somebody.
yeah.
And that's going to be the challenge for Rick Page is who is somebody he can really build that really good relationship with, that the 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 two the sum is greater than the individual parts
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
thing.
I think 2025 is a huge opportunity. I know he picked up I think he did Renegade this past weekend.
Yeah.
I know he drifts down and helps out at some of these other bullpen, like some of that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. So I think maybe over time we see exactly what you're discussing there. And listen, I think it's a huge win. And I know it's, a lot of people don't think, I like it's a huge win that he's in the mix here. And that's for Rick Page. And I think, like I said, I think all four of these guys will have these, so, but, and that's
Here's the
down the road.
thing. Here's a question for you. Who, like, there was one year I remember 2 or 3 years ago where there were not. It was hard to pick a manager of the year because it's like, who's a manager anymore? And it's refreshing to see. I don't know. I couldn't list anybody who's not here. There's just not as many managers anymore in Georgia. But all of those are good. Mentor of the year, 4 finalists: Murder One, Simon Sermon, Terry Lawler, and Todd Sexton. I know Todd has won this award before. I'm assuming Simon Sermon's won this award at some point. What are your thoughts on Mentor of the Year?
Uh, Go back to our rule. We'll leave it that alone. Like our original rule that we said, that was part of the argument there. Here's the thing though. I think every one of these guys is in here for, I don't want to say for different reasons, but they kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the room. I've seen Terry Lawler, do what he does to kind of, you know, be on this list, and I'm a man. It is super hard for me not to be partial to anything that Terry Lawler's on the list. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to say, oh, you're going to vote for Terry Lawler, yeah, probably I would. So, but now let's just kind of talk it out rationally, like we're supposed to. Um, Man, just knee jerk reaction. I'm probably picking. You know what? No, I'm going to go with my. I've seen it up close, man. And look, it's a homer pick. I'm going to go Terry Lawler. I can't, for any other reason than I'm a homer, that we'll go with that.
Hey, that's who I was going to pick. This whole encore presentation, we've seen him at so many different promotions. He's been everywhere. He was that Georgia heavyweight champion, defending that at multiple promotions, working with veterans, working with young guys. And I think to talk to Terry, and again, I think there's no secret. You've known Terry a very long time, and so there's a different relationship with us and him than other wrestlers. And so, but the humility in which this whole thing, he was not expecting this. He thought he was done. Thought he was, and so it's been refreshing. And I think I again, the attitude, the positivity, all of that is good for a locker room. And yeah, that's who my pick is as well. Best live event, Coastal Empire Wrestling's Last Man Standing from November 30th. Southern Fried's Ultimate Battleground from November the 28th. Southern Honors Rumblejack from August the 9th. Viral Pro Wrestling's Infection 8 from August the 10th. And Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment Show of the Year on December the 29th. I was only live at two of these. Uh, Nick, what are your thoughts on best live event?
So I was three. I was live at three of them. No, two of them. Sorry, you're correct. But I've seen them all. By the way, guys, is this where we commercially insert in here why you should have like an IWTV subscription, like why you should have, like your YouTube should be bookmarked and you should be subscribing to all the promotions that you regularly attend.
Right.
Because between all of them, you could have caught all of these matches.
Yes. Right.
Like How
Right.
far have we come in even a decade? Where like that's even a thing where we can keep up with promotions that we don't, get to go to on a regular basis because they're 4 hours away from us. But I unapologetically say it almost seems like every year at the beginning of the year, I caught heat for this on a post. I can't even remember the exact what happened and what was said or whatever. But I know it was because Gary got involved. Like it was a crazy thing of basically I was like, look, I'm a homer for the Rumble Jack. I think the Royal Rumble's my favorite pay-per-view.
Mhm.
It's the PLE that Rumble the Royal Rumble is that I hate to tell any promotion that like that Saturday I'll be at home watching the Rumble. There's almost, I'm not saying nothing, there's almost nothing an indie show can put on that will pull me away from it.
Right.
Which is, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go Rumble Jack. That's hands down. Which with Ultimate Battlegrounds right there with it because it's a very similar format. But here's the other thing. Here's why I think this award's so difficult. And I'm not sure, by the way, I shouldn't say this probably on this episode. It's probably why it's one of the awards I don't like even having. Because the best live event can't be captured on video, in my
Right.
opinion. It's the
Right.
vibe in the room. And if nobody was in the room to say it, it's kind of hard. Like, why did you enjoy the Rumble Jack? Because I was in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but when I'm at Battleground, when I've been to Ultimate Battlegrounds in the past, it ranks right up there. Okay, but it was on Thanksgiving. It was a Thanksgiving show that I didn't get to go to. Is that part of why it doesn't win? Probably, what's my favorite saying? 1,000%, right? Probably the case. Yeah, so it's tough for me to say, like, look, Last Man Standing, great watch. If you have not seen Coastal Empire's Last Man Standing show on YouTube, go watch it.
Yes.
So that's my thing. I don't know that there's enough. I don't know that there's enough people going to every single event that gets nominated that could even make this. This is why it's one of the most difficult ones to give away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost have to, what makes the best live event? There would be reasons. Virals on here, they drew close to 600. They had Joe Henry, but Joe Henry and Billy Brash in the main event went to a draw. So to me, that kind of like knocks it down a notch. And I watched that match. I agree with you. I went to two of these, and so those are the two that I'm kind of ranking. My pick is the Rumble Jack, and and in the moment, if you'd asked me 10 minutes after Rumble Jack was over, I would have said no, that was not. However, on the back end of that, um, knowing some of the booking decisions, knowing some of the curveballs Southern Honor had, and the fact that why did a tag team guy win the Rumble Jack? Oh, that's why a tag team guy won the Rumble Jack. And you start seeing things go into place. That's I thought Dylan. It was in being there and seeing Dylan kind of. It was a sight to behold, and that would be my live event of the year as well.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year, Zach Buchanan, J. Alpha Miller, Lucas Da Silva, Christian Taylor. Who are your thoughts on Rookie of the Year?
Christian Taylor. 74 match reasons why. Like that's. I mean, that's just my answer. Look, nothing taken away from any of these other guys. Zach, I don't know that he just. I know he did a pretty good a bit, but I just felt like nobody put in the work, hitting more promotions. And I get it. Everybody's dedicated. Everybody's committed. But just the perks of seeing some things up close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look, man, Christian Taylor, that's the guy. I don't think I get that so much. It's much more depth to that. It's just that he's the guy this year.
He had 74 matches, at least two gimmicks that we're aware of. He was experimenting. He was trying different things. Uh, Zach Buchanan to me, again, the kid has it. The kid will be like I don't think anybody's doubting that. That kid's going places. It's in his blood. Um. So, but I think he was very selective. You know, Christian Taylor was he's just out there. Luke De Silva to me would be a close second. The thing I'm excited for Luke De Silva is, and we'll get to this on the other show. Luke De Silva was, if I'm not mistaken, was as white meat of a white meat baby face in year one as somebody could be, and he's going in a different direction in year two, and that's exciting. But Christian Taylor, has any rookie in Georgia or anywhere wrestled more than 74 times in their first year? Not even a full year, because he started in what, February, March?
I think
So
so. Yeah.
we're
So
not even talking 12 months. So the kid hustled, and for that reason, he's my pick for rookie of the year.
ditto.
And yeah. Okay, I don't want to do promoter of the year yet. All right, best promo. Let's go to best promo. Simon Sermon from Coastal Empire Wrestling's Last Man Standing. Shug D from Classic City Wrestling on July 20th. And Joe Black from Southern Honor Wrestling 65 on September the 6th. What are your thoughts on this?
I will not waver from the reaction I had live in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Black at Southern Honor Wrestling. Were you there? Because I think I
was
met.
not
No,
there, but you messaged me.
I
Yeah.
messaged me and said I just watched the promo of the year,
Yes.
and I'm not wavering. So that's from September 6th, whatever it was. When I saw it, I was like, okay, that's it. There aren't many times like those other two are great promos. So I've seen them both on YouTube and on whatever. But I'm like, this sat there and was like, that was it. Like that was the promo of the year.
Again, I that's my pick too after I watched it. But my reasoning is knowing some behind the scenes things and knowing that this promo was birthed out of an audible, if I can say that. Edit that out if I can't say that. Um, and that this promo was kind of, I mean, because until this promo, Joe Black is in a tag team. He's not really in the title hunt. And with this one promo, the whole direction of the entire promotion, whoop, just flipped on
Yeah.
this one promo. And that was because of how real the promo was. Now, these other two promos were good, but they did not have the effect as the
The
Joe Black
level of
one.
stakes matter in
Yes.
wrestling. We always hear that. He put like literally the delivery, the what he did. It wasn't just the content; it was the delivery, all the above. But the stakes that it put on that match, like in like you said, in one promo, it took it from, oh, I get a shot to this is why this matters. This is more important than anything, and that ultimately, yeah, that's hands down. Again, I always, what's the old? There's a saying basically like you could literally feel it in the room,
Yeah.
like as he was cutting that promo, and that's why you win promo of the year. By the way, just in case you're worried, like if you can make the people feel it when you're talking, that's it.
Yeah. I I am sure sometimes in the story a promo's not necessary. In this instance, you could not have done what they did without the promo.
Right.
And then the video they did before when
Yeah.
the night of the it was just good. Good work. Good work, everybody. Um let's see here. Ring announcer of the year. Diana Michelle, Jason Boyd, Scott Hensley, Josh Wheeler. What are your
Okay, I'm
thoughts?
going to go ahead and tell you the next three we're probably going to do. I think require super limited conversations.
Yes. Yeah.
And we probably need to do so based on the times I'm looking at in the corner.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and tell
Sorry, I
you
can't.
No,
Yeah,
no, no. You're okay. You're good.
yeah.
This one's Diana Michelle, and no offense to everybody on the list, it's not close. It's just her award, you know, for a while. So
Right. And I think it has to do with talent. Yeah. She's great. She does so many promotions. If Scott Hensley were doing ring announcing at 4 different promotions, I
it's
love Scott
close. No,
Hensley.
absolutely, I agree.
I-
Yeah.
I'm assuming commentator of the year
Yep.
also Brendan Benefield, Gerard Bonner for Southern Honor, Brendan Benefield, Bryce Cannon, Maestro for Coastal Empire, Carmen Michael and Rob Weathers for AWE, and Dylan Hales and John Mosley, aka Mose, for Action Wrestling. Who's your pick here?
It's Brandon and Gerard, man. It's the again. It's just there's a lot to be said for you work together a lot. You get into a groove like they do. They do the Southern Honor podcast together. They do this show. They've done other shows. They do, So it's just again, this is just theirs for now. And look, I tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I get it. We're going to get the pushback on it, but it's theirs until somebody takes it.
You could take Brandon and Gerard, you could plug them at any promotion and it would work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, I like all these commentary teams. Let me just say that. I don't know that Carmen and Rob work like they do at any place other than the AWE. Dylan and Mose. Dylan maybe
Carmen and Rob do other promotions. Like I'm fully aware,
right.
But it's just like I said. I just think when we come to the equation of it,
right.
It's just Brandon and Gerard's until somebody takes it from them.
That's right.
Or they take it from themselves.
Yes. Referee of the year: Mike Full of Love, Daryl Hall, Paul Santa, Luis Santiago, and Slim. Who's your picks for this?
Look, nobody works. It seems like nobody works more than Slim, but Grandpa's the best. I mean, he is hands down. Let me back up. I always give people grief when they say the best. Grandpa's my favorite referee. I've seen him work every style. He's serious. He's a championship referee. That's the term Nick has. There's championship referee, and then there's the one who's got to get in there with Joey Janela, Man Scout, and that kind of, and have that fun, the camp with the tent and all that kind of stuff. And Grandpa can do that for you too. Grandpa's the best.
I don't disagree with you, but my vote this year is with Luis Santiago, simply because he worked the one match you and I were involved in. Was so good, was so helpful, and Turnbuckle has done a lot of shows, and he was at every single one of them. And the highest, and this is not a knock on Grandpa because Grandpa is the same. Lewis is invisible in there, and that's one of the highest things. Anyway, I think he does a great job. Again, Slim, well-deserved nod here for all the work he does. So we differ on this, but I don't know that there's a bad or wrong pick, but everybody's good. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's go to most improved. Cornelius Pepperbottom, Xander Seabolt, Michael Walker, Hakeem Young. What are your thoughts here?
People are going to be surprised by my pick, maybe.
Okay.
Hakeem Young. This is a little bit behind the baseball. I get it. This is a lot of inside baseball.
Yeah.
Hakeem Young, last January, people were ready to stick a fork in this kid. They're like, He's done, blah, blah, blah. Jump all the way forward to now. He's everywhere. He's a champion at Coastal. He's getting the respect. So, I'm just going strictly from you could argue like all three of these guys or these other three guys on this list, and I could make a case for all of them. I made a joke with Xander Seabolt. I'm like, when did you get good at this wrestling thing? It's a joke because And look, Michael Walker, same thing, dude. He was a staple. He was a cornerstone of Coastal Empire. Pepperbottom is, the most underrated guy, in the exotic youth, right? Everybody was like, oh, he's like the third wheel, but he's over, when Bryce went down, he showed his value throughout 2024 as well. I just think from where Hakeem Young was sitting in January of 2024 to where he's at now, or December 31st, to be fair, I guess, with the vote, whatever. I think that's your guy.
Yeah, I agree too. 12 months ago, we were all under the impression that basically Hakeem Young was going to be persona non grata in
Yeah.
Georgia wrestling. And the fact that he not only overcame that and expanded after
Hmm.
being a finalist for Rookie of the Year, I
An
think some.
amazing example of why I look at one of my most frustrating things about not good, not always the same is what I do really admire is there's a team of guys, they know who they are, who gave this young man an opportunity and he did not disappoint. They gave him a second chance to, like, God, look, we're young, we make mistakes. Let's
Yeah.
learning experiences, and that he did that. So I can't like. I hope two things. One, everyone can appreciate the turn just in Hakeem Young. But I hope Hakeem Young, and I'm sure he does, by the way, is willing to turn around and look back and go, I'm not only because most improved a lot of times requires help and
Hmm.
understands like these guys gave me an opportunity. Comeback stories don't get it. Like redemption stories aren't there if nobody gives you an opportunity.
Yes.
So that's a twofold thing there. I want to, but like I said, I just think for like you said, I can't reiterate enough where he was January 30th, 2024 to where he was at December 31st, 2024. I just think it's his award. It just has to be.
Yes. I agree, and I think the awards being voted on by the boys and girls, the boys and women inside the business, I I think he's running away with this award, in my opinion, because of the turnaround. Um, I'm looking around. Let's go technical wrestler award. The Kyle Matthews Technical Wrestler Award.
Yeah.
The finalists: Kyle Matthews, Najicism, Adam Priest, and Pat Roach. Who you got?
I may throw people. Adam Priest is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers to watch in the ring. I'm gonna go him, and
Oh,
it's weird. It's weird because the match of my favorite match of his is not a technical wrestling match. It was the match with Cruel in the cage at Action. But I
yes.
mean, all of his other matches have proved. We've seen him like they'll get. What's cool is you'll see him at places like Turnbuckle wrestle one way, Action wrestle a different way, Southern Honor. You know what I mean? So it's like the mix, the mixture, or whatever. But I don't know from like I said from a technical aspect that he's just my guy this year.
You know the Adam Priest match we missed that somebody's got to send to us is we were backstage and we didn't see Adam Priest versus Vari Morales. We missed that match. So Scott needs you to send that footage to me. I agree. Adam Priest. I listen. I cannot pick Kyle Matthews because the award is named for him. He doesn't need. He's done enough. He doesn't need the award. Najicism won last year. I think Pat Roach, could be 2025 winner,
I'm
but
not
Adam
saying he's
Priest.
not technical. Pat Roach, if you told me like if there's a best heel award, all right, give me Pat Roach. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
He's an old school guy, but he's an old school heel, and I don't know that this is his award. But I get the spirit of it, but that's just not what I think of when I think of him. And look, Kyle Matthews, like, yeah, he doesn't need one because he's got enough. He deserves it, sure. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he doesn't, but I'm an Adam Priest guy this year for this one.
Tag team of the year: Buff and Fluff Connection, Sean Legacy and Cody Fluffman. Exotic Youth: Zach Mosley, Cornelius Pepperbottom. The Hierarchy: Murder One and Joe Black. The Infantry: Carly Bravo and Sean Dean. Who you got?
Oh, this is super hard. The only argument that I'm gonna make for an easy win, Hierarchy's been champions everywhere, dude. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but you pick a promotion, it just feels like they've been, and this is kind of 2024 was their year to be tag team of the year because I'm trying to think IWE,
Mm-hmm. Premiere.
Premier, Southern Honor, technically Anarchy when it was they were, you know what I mean? Like you start
Yeah.
mixing it in.
AWE.
AWE, yeah, you name it. When they wrestle there, they're going to be a champion. They're going to be tag team champions. So, and they were at big chunks of time. So I think 2024 is probably the hierarchy's year.
Yes, the hierarchy had the best 12 months. You could say the infantry had a better second half of the year,
Yes,
but for the full 12 months, it is the hierarchy. I'm interested to see where Buff and Fluff go with developments for both of those young men, but both positive developments.
massive. Yeah,
Uh, they certainly get the best babyface reaction of any tag team in Georgia that I've seen.
yeah. It's a shame we're not going to see. Look, we're happy for the reasoning, but it's a shame we're not going to see probably a lot more of them like we did in 2024. And I'm eager to see. We're probably. I'm not going to throw timetables out there. Exotic Youth, what they look like in 2025, because as they are reassembled, when Bryce Cannon is healthy and fully returns, I'm curious to see what they look like for 2025.
Yes, yes. Let's go to our female performer of the year, Rose Gold, Angelica Risk, and Crystal Rose. What are your thoughts on female performer of the year?
Angelica Risk probably. I was trying to think. Like, did she work at more shows than anybody? I know Rose Gold's got a ton, but she also Angelica Risk was, for whatever reasons, right? A lot of people are going to make excuses, whatever. Like, literally, I just happened to catch. I'll spoil a little bit of the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight show. She just dropped the Nightmare Factory Championship, Monday night, but essentially was that champion since day one. She was the one and only one, and essentially carried that title in its existence in 2024. And like, oh, she doesn't work, a lot of promotions. Okay, well, she works more dates than probably anybody because of the ones she does work. So, again, look, I don't want to bring in the whole criteria argument again, but here it is. It's like, hey, I mean, is it promotions or is it shows? Championships or not? Like those tomato, whatever. That's just my pick. I would go Angelica Risk.
Yes. If you're saying, Heath, you have to book a women's match and you got to pick one of these three women to be in it, I am picking Angelica Risk every day of the week, twice on Sunday. For a lot of reasons. I think she's got a huge upside, and I don't know how much longer we're going to see her performing around in Georgia. I mean, she has
Look, I saw her work
huge
Red
upside.
Velvet
Yeah.
at a Ring of Honor taping. She was on there, and I know, the winds of the winds are out there have said that certain people, the powers that be like her, they really do. They're big fans of her. So I'm with you. It's like, hey, I think you're going to see her Ring of Honor, Collision, all that kind of stuff down the road. That's just
Yeah.
So yeah.
Male performer of the year: Cody Fluffman, Hunter James, Alexander Lev, Najicism, and Matt Sales. What are your thoughts?
We always have the conversation about what does this award mean. I always think it's character, it's personality, things like that. If so, here's the thing: if that's the award, it's obviously to me going to come down to Fluffman and Sales. If we were talking about best wrestlers and things like that, well, that guy should be over on the other side. Although Matt Sales is my fourth favorite wrestler, and he knows that. So I think this year it's a weird pick for me because of what I think the award means versus what it probably means. Alexander Lev is probably my pick. If it was solely the personality and the character, Cody Fluffman probably gets the nod. But even when we get into the development of the character and the personality, Alexander Lev's work from point A to point B of January 1 to December 31 elevated itself to that point. That would be my case. That would be my case. Would be Alexander Lev.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Alexander Lev, at every promotion he worked at, was in a main angle, a main storyline. For me, a close second would be Najicism with the whole Hoochie Daddy thing.
Yeah.
Um, but great work by all five of these folks. But again, yeah, I agree with you. My vote would have been with
I will tell
Action
you,
Left.
I think 2025 might be the year. I saw a segment at Southern Fried this past week. They actually did like the old school like Piper's Pit segment
Yeah,
where Nachicism had like the Hoochie Lounge or something like that. They brought like a red carpet in the ring. They put pillows and the little LED candles and banners and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, that's this. So like if I see this all of 2025,
yeah,
then yes, then he's the guy. He's the guy for that.
yeah. So we're excited for 2025. Let's go to we got four left. Let's go Booker of the Year. Then we'll do promoter, promotion, and promotion. Wrestler of the Year. Booker of the Year: Dylan Frymeyer, Murder One, Todd Sexton, Zach Mosley, and Bryce Cannon.
This is probably the like top to bottom the most respected four right there with Mentor, when it comes to that, like top to bottom. I'm gonna zag this year. I have always said I think the best storyteller in Georgia is Todd Sexton. And I'm still not saying that may not be the case. But knowing everything that we know, to not only do what you were like, not just the developments of what you were trying to accomplish, but then the turning around and making some chicken salad in certain situations. Yeah. I'm actually this year, Dylan Frymeyer is going to get my vote this year. If I were putting one in, he would get my pick this year because of the adjusting on the fly to not just some little things. By the way, we're talking some major things, and so that's my pick for Booker this year.
I am gonna zag. I'm gonna pick Zach and Bryce. Because as we've gone through these awards and as I've thought back on this year, at the beginning of the year, Coastal Empire was not on our radar. And here we are at the end of the year. We've just said that Hakeem Young, most improved. Big part because of Coastal Empire. My match of the year, Coastal Empire. One of the promo of the year finalists, Coastal Empire. My pick for manager of the year, big part of Coastal Empire. They brought that group together, did some fantastic, and even now we're on the show after this, we're going to talk about their show. Just some big moments. To me, they came out of nowhere. Dylan did all these guys did a great job, but for me, Zach and Bryce elevated that promotion with their booking. I don't know that. Yeah. So that's why my pick goes to them. I do want to say, Zach did this publicly and privately. Like, hey, I can't take all the credit, and so I know they're not going to take all the credit for this pick. But guys, you did a great job. I wasn't watching Coastal Empire earlier this year, but now I try to watch at least the main parts of all of their shows, and that's a credit to their booking and the talent that they're using.
Hey, Zach, we like to, and I told him this personally, we like to dump all the praise on one person.
Yes.
And then you can shower the rest of them with it. No, I'm just kidding. They all know we're big fans. But yeah, look, it's sometimes, ask Gary Lamb. He'll tell you the general at the top usually gets all the praise. We do it with quarterbacks. The quarterbacks always get the praise, right?
Right. That's right.
So are you the coach of the quarterback?
Yeah. And are you got to be able to take the hits too,
If you go badly, I promise you we're coming after you for those too. Yeah.
Let's talk about promoter of the year. Bull Buchanan from Bullpen Pro, Matt Griffin from Action Wrestling, Gary Lamb from Southern Honor, Sam Skaggs from Kraken Wrestling. Again, all four well deserved. What are your thoughts on this?
How about the little guy? Like, I can't tell you how proud I am. Sam Skaggs is even on this list. Mm-hmm. Think about, had I told you literally, 12 months ago Because literally it would have been, had I told you 12 months ago, Hold My Beer Hansen was going to be up for promoter of the year for a promotion, for a new promotion.
In
That was
Tifton.
crazy. In
In
Tifton,
Tifton.
Georgia. Yeah. Look, this is probably arguably the toughest because we always come back to what does it mean? Like, what is, like, if it's drawing houses, it's Bull Buchanan, right? He's had the biggest houses from when they started. Now, granted, but here's the argument. Well, they only ran 6 months of the year, basically. Okay, well, but they ran 2 or 3 shows at a time. So they ran more than shows that were running bi-monthly. Like, it gets super convoluted and confusing when you're trying to, like, decipher, weed through all of this. Now, if you're asking, like, Gary Lamb's the best promoter in Georgia, right? But it's a lot of people, we know that because of what he does outside of wrestling, not just the wrestling piece.
Right.
Literally, I have a name highlighted, and I'm not going to use it. I have a list in front of me in case everybody's wondering. I keep saying that. I have a list of this in front of me. So I'm going Matt Griffin. I like literally, I will honestly, I have a different name highlighted, and I'm going to go Matt Griffin because he draws. He fills smaller venues when he has smaller venues. He put 600 in a building. I remember that last year. I think it was the Noon and Nightmare, the first one. They've got the second one coming up here shortly. Promoting himself? I don't know. If he's counting himself in Action, he promoted Action on Forever Pro, Southern Honor, the Blood and Honey series, the Action thing. He was making appearances at Southern Fry. Like, he promoted his promotion at other people's promotions.
WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Had, arguably the best indie show, WrestleMania weekend. Everything you just said. Matt Griffin's my promoter of the year because think about this, and this is why he maybe should have won Male Performer of the Year. He was able to go into all these other promotions, get Action over, get IWTV over without taking anything away from those promotions he was visiting. It was absolutely masterful, and he was they ran more than 12. They ran more shows than Southern Honor. They run in different venues. Started running at Das Barbecue. Built that good relationship. I just think, Matt Griffin did a great job and has built one of the most loyal fan bases there in Action. And they're a fun show to go to.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, everybody, my argument is Gary Lamb's the best promoter, but, his best work wasn't necessarily in wrestling. And we're only talking about in the construct of 2024. So that's kind of why I think that's your guy.
Yes. Promotion of the year: Action Wrestling, Coastal Empire Wrestling, Deep South Wrestling, Southern Honor Wrestling, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. I want to say something controversial that won't get us in trouble, but will get us emails and private messages. In that, you and I were talking last night about one of these promotions worked their way onto this list. Maybe shouldn't have been there. And I admitted, you know what? I had them here. Maybe they shouldn't have been there. Anyway, but I've said too much. Anyway, what's your thoughts on promotion of the year?
I've always said there's 3. There should only be 3 finalists in every category. There should never be more.
Yes.
This is one that you can plead your case. I'd still tell you it still needs to be 3.
Yeah.
Because here's the blunt truth. I can give you the 3 that belong on the list this year.
Yes.
It's not my place to, but I could give it to you.
Yes.
And they're all for different reasons. The 3 that's the hard part with this one, is because I think they're all the best at, I think the 3 promotions that I would say that they're the best at one thing. And it's, I can't tell you what they are best at because it completely gives it away which ones I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, but I'm going to stand behind something that I said to somebody. I will tell you this year I felt was the first year that I don't think anyone heads and shoulders stood above everybody else. This is the year where I said,
Yeah.
if you gave me 4 of the 5 people on this list or promotions on this list, I could tell you why they deserve to be the promotion of the year, literally,
Mhm.
and would not blink. I could and say it with a straight face, with all and mean every bit of it.
Yeah.
But somebody said, real quick, gut reaction. If I asked you who the promotion of the year was, who is it? And I said it's action wrestling. I mean, it just that was my gut reaction. I was like, I feel like because, and here's the thing, why? It's because action wrestling via Matt Griffin, via feud, literally made action wrestling relevant at other people's promotions.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like we know who Action is at Southern Fried. We know who Action is. There's literally a feud developed at Southern Honor with it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let's not take let's the Blood and Honey series. He got whatever, but not to get into the fact that he's running shows that draw 600. He's doing a lot of good work there. It's tough to give him his flowers, right? It is at times or whatever, but he's whatever. But I just think that at the end of here's the thing we always talk about. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to pick a winner, even though you might struggle with it. You make the tough decision. You live with the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, for what they do it better than anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think what their goal is it's a bigger than Georgia attitude, and I think that shows in a lot of things that they do, and that's why I think this year they're the winner.
Yes. Agree with everything you said. The irony that the reason I'm picking Action is I think they still remained not really a Georgia promotion, but Matt Griffin did the work to infiltrate so many Georgia promotions. It's like they embraced we're not Georgia. We're going against Georgia. We're going against everybody. And that elevated them. They also had to do some booking on the fly. They used talents that you can't see anywhere else in Georgia. The idea that Action is only in-ring wrestling, let's put they are tremendous in-ring wrestling. To say that they do not have angles and storylines and all of that, let's put that to bed once and for all. They are the complete package, and they are also my promotion of the year.
Yep.
All right, here we go. The big one. This one we may get some arguments out of this one. I don't know. Overall wrestler of the year: Carly Bravo, Nick Halen, Hunter James, and Najicism.
I made a statement in public, and I stand by that statement. I said, the big disclaimer at the front of it: if Carly Bravo qualifies for this award, this was before this list was made. I said, if Carly Bravo qualifies, Carly Bravo is your, again, based on the list we have here, Carly Bravo is your wrestler of the year. And we got into the debates of contracts and what's nationally signed and do they count and don't they count. Goes all out the window when they said, when we made up the rules here, hey, we have to pick somebody on this list.
Right.
Look, all 4 of them, same situation. But Carly's belt collecting, jumping around, facing the best of all these different promotions. I think that's probably what puts him over the top. Is that he's like, again, he's a top guy. He's a champion in multiple places, and he's fighting the best of the best. And I don't know, he took a belt, and look, it's not a disrespect. He took a title that had been idle and literally raised it back, and brought that title back to where, people wanted it to be. Not where it was, where people wanted it to be. He brought it back there. And that's why, without even a doubt in my brain, as much as I love all of the guys on this list, Carly Bravo.
I don't disagree with anything you said. The only thing I would say because I do have a different pick than you, is it's the same argument I made with the infantry. If your Carly Bravo had the best second half, maybe of anybody I can think of the last couple of years, as far as the impact he had on Georgia and elevating. I mean, here's a question, and maybe this is a Patreon episode. Does the resurgence of AWE happen without Carly Bravo? Because that was together that they did that, winning that title, the Georgia Wrestling Crown. But my pick for his 12 months worth of work, titles in different places, working a ton of different promotions, really putting in the work, and closed out 2024 the leader in a big feud, just kind of sticking his nose in at multiple places, working babyface some places, heel some places, and that's Hunter James. Now, have we seen Carly Bravo versus Hunter James before? Somebody booked that match. I'd like to see it.
I kind of, the crazy thing is I kind of had a feeling that's where you were going to go. You know, I can't argue with it.
I can't argue with yours either.
That's the thing. Like I said, it was my whole point was if he qualifies, Carly's your guy. If you said, "Hey, Carly doesn't qualify," then it was Hunter James. So that's kind of the pickle that I was stuck in, right?
Right.
But listen, everybody knows my stance on that kid. I think he is super talented, and I think he has a bright future ahead of him. You know, we just got to see what's next. He's the what's next guy for me. He is 2025. I think 2025 is a crucial year.
Yeah.
For Hunter James. But like I said, but by the way, I would plead the same case for Carly Bravo. For a multitude of reasons, we'll keep it at that. We'll keep our tongue right. I just think we're going to see, just based on what I think he took multiple promotions and said, lift, to point that I know I'm getting calls about 2025. Guys are like, hey, well, what do you think about Carly? You know, and I'm like, get him and get him quick, and we'll leave it at
that. Yes. I don't. How do I say this? I have a hunch Carly Bravo's second half of 2025 will not be as good in Georgia as it was in 2024.
I think 2025 will be great for him, and I think 2026 maybe even better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yes. Again, kudos to all these finalists, great people. We love talking about this stuff. We would love to hear what you think. Tell us where we're wrong. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. You never know. We may do some behind-the-scenes stuff, and the only place to find that is at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. You get all the shows early. And then, spoiler alert, we're going to be putting the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight on YouTube this week, but most of the time it is a strictly Patreon show, and you can watch it for free every week. Again, you sign up for Patreon for free. You don't pay a dime. You're going to get some good stuff. One of the things you get too is all the show notes when you become a paid member. You get Philip Stamper's calendar. You can get access to our calendar of all the Georgia shows. But we appreciate all of our patrons and their support. Nick, any final thoughts? What are you and wait a minute, I'm getting my shows mixed up. I'll ask you on the next show what you and Myra are talking about, but you and I still have another show to record.
Yeah, and like I said, we are going to record the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight this week and this week only. We're going to put it on YouTube, kind of to show people, hey, like, this is what you get if you go to become, and it's a free membership. It's not a paid one. So that's kind of what we like. Hey, let's put it up 1 week on YouTube, see what, that looks, and drive some people over to that. So I'm excited for that. There is a lot of stuff. We're going to discuss obviously the upcoming Saturday Night Main Event, There's a TNA pay-per-view this past weekend, GCW, a lot of crazy stuff went on. So, it's lots of stuff, to dive into, but yeah, we got a whole other, probably another hour and a half to go before we're done.
Yeah, the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight notes are 10 pages, and if you become a patron, you get them all. But thank you for all the folks watching on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing, hitting that bell, doing all that good stuff. But for Nick McDaniel, this is Heath Mulligan, and hopefully sometime very soon we'll see you at the matches.